That's got to be good enough. Hello and welcome to X and Y Gaming Casually Competitive. That's a long mouthful. Well, anyways, so recently I was able to visit my buddy. His name is Justin, for anyone who cares. Just in case you were wondering. And, as being as casual as I am, up until now, his U-Bell deck, of all things, was giving me so much of a problem that I basically vowed vengeance on it. I was gonna create the ultimate deck and make the perfect comeback, or whatever. And so I did that. And it's kind of funny because when I started visiting him first and playing this game with him a lot more often, he was way better than me. And in terms of, actual skill, he probably is still better than me, honestly. But in terms of available cards, thus available strategies to combat with, I'm better now. And the only reason I say that is because him and I are just simply in different walks in life. He doesn't have all the free time and money to devote to playing a card game and getting new cards, whereas he might be able to play on the computer every now and again. And me, basically any free time I have is spent on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro or listening to channels and stuff. So I'm playtesting like crazy. So I basically used the new link format to gain myself an advantage. So there was, the new edge, but also just the crazy stupid combos you can pull off with link monsters is dumb. And so in today's video is a breakdown and I guess just a normal deck profile of my current main deck, Cyberse Frogs. So without any more further ado, here is the monster lineup, starting with 2 Link Slayers, because the fact that you can special summon them when you have nothing is basically like a Cyber Dragon, except your opponent doesn't need to control any number of monsters for you to be able to summon him when you don't. And I think that makes him more useful than Cyber Dragon in the sense that even if I'm going first, I can get a free special summon out of him. And the other next is Ram Clouder, because the fact that you can tribute basically anything, or even himself, and get something as powerful as, Trigate Wizard, like any Cyberse, really. Whatever you need that's dead, you can get them back with Ram Clouder. And I think that that's infinitely useful. Right next to 2 copies of Balancer Lord, who you normal summon or special summon, whichever way you want to get them onto the field. But if you pay 1,000 life points during your main phase this turn, you get an additional normal summon. Well, provided it's of a Cyberse monster. But remember, this is a Cyberse deck with frogs. 2 backup Secretary. And I will point out that at the time when I dueled him, it was 3 Secretary and 1 Balancer Lord, because I could only find 1, and by the time I'm able to do this video, I found my other Balancer Lord. So there you go, 2 and 2. 1 Stack Reviver, who is just fantastic. If he goes to the graveyard with another Cyberse monster as part of a Link summoning, the other one you used, so long as it's 4 or less, comes back. Use her again. Then we have the 1 Dot Scraper. So either if you discard him or use him as link material, whichever way he ends up in the graveyard, he comes back. But you can only do that once per duel. And then if he ever happens to get banished, he comes back. So it's just pretty good. And that's the end of the Cyberse lineup. So what comes next? Well, I'm going to start with the non-frogs, just kind of to round out what I do. 2 Necroface, simply because, well, I run 2 Desires. Perform Age Trick Clown, who is essentially a dot scraper, but instead of being able to do it once per free per duel, you can do it once per turn for 1,000 life points. And I figure that that's useful enough. The Agent of Creation Venus is a beautiful, beautiful card. I remember when I ran an agent deck around the time that Xyz monsters had just been introduced. So, Agent of Creation Venus would be able to get 2 Mystic Shine Balls. Okay, well, hers, she's a 3, 1 ball's a 2, 3, 5, plus a tuner of 2. You can get a good 7 out. Probably Ancient Fairy Dragon is, I think, what I would use to go for. That or Rose Dragon and blow the board. Probably not, but either way, because Mystic Shine Ball, the other 2, you'd use to get a Gachi. Or if you really wanted, you could just do 2 Gachis. That was always kind of funny. But, well, okay, getting off topic. Agent of Creation Venus, she summons balls. And as you can obviously tell, these are fantastic for Link monsters. Just so beautiful. And then I run... It's a great combo piece with that. We'll get to that, I guess. So here's the frogs, because, we got Ball Lover on our balls. But, this is Cyberse frogs, my dude. And I gotta say, I gotta stop adding this dude and fucking shouting him out and shit and like, oh, basically fanboy sucking his dick. But swap frogs, any frogs. I would never, like, I know frogs exist. I've back in high school, I had my ass kicked by the Treeborn frog, whatever bullshit combo. Oh, it's crazy. So whatever. So okay. I've never used them before until now. Because of Mr. D-Zeef. Mr. Doug D-Zeef himself. He had, well, he's always talking about frogs. It was Dupe Frog on his graduation cap, where I was like, okay, this fucking card must be really good then. And then he made a deck profile with the Lair of Darkness. And kind of... I saw it in a stream once where he was like, here's how it's supposed to work. And my actual only takeaway was the frog engine itself. I made the deck, but like I said, my only takeaway was the frog engine itself. And so Swap Frog and Dupe Frog are pretty good. Dupe Frog, if he dies, you get Swap Frog. I usually send... When Swap Frog hits the field, he'll send another one from the deck to the graveyard. Usually I'll just send Dupe Frog because the next 2 I use are Ronin Totem. So, whatever engine these were meant to be, I most definitely don't use them proper. I get Swap Frog out and Dupe Frogs into the graveyard just like crazy. Because 9 times out of 10, I can get him off with one of the swaps, or he's already in my hand and I discard him for a card cost. So I don't know, just the way this deck works out for me, he's usually in the grave somehow. And I just pile these things into the graveyard. And I actually do run one totally awesome. He's a really good card. I love him. I just don't make him as often as you might think. Because these things, I use them for Link fodder. And I do. I have them. I have 2 copies. Only one in this deck. Link fodders. Pot of Desires. Banish 10, draw 2, put them back with the dog, creepy doll face, who cares? Signet Recovery, Link monster dies, get another Cyberse that's not a Link in defense. Look at that Signet universe. You know what's really great about Ball Lover? She summons a ball. You know what's really great about when that ball ends dead? You can Signet universe it back in the deck. You know what's really great about Ball Lovers? She summons balls. It's great. You want to summon 4 balls in one turn? Let's do it. This is the Terraforming, which is basically 4 copies of Signet Universe, but that field isn't essentially essential to getting that all the time, so only the 1 Terraforming. 2 Mind Controls, because especially against other Link decks, it's pretty great when you can still someone's Link. First of all, you'd be not stupid and try it on something that's obviously protected. But when you can pull it off and be like, oh, that's a great Link 2 or a Link 3, let me just fucking make it into my own Link 3 or Link 4. Speaking of Link 4s, there's a Scapegoat. Only one of them. I have a second copy, but I've only seen that one's ever useful. Soul Charge, Monster Reborn, and Raigeki are my Saki one-ofs. I mean, do you need a reason for any of this? Do you need a reason for this? Do you need... One of. It's limited to 1. I only have 1. And there you go. It's 42 cards. How cool is that? Man, I gotta not go off on a tangent, but we're almost getting to the extra deck. Literally, I built this deck for one thing and one thing in mind, and that was spam the board with monsters on monsters on monsters for materials for link summons. So basically, if there's an out to the board of link I build, then I don't really have a way back. And that comes into the casually competitive aspect, where, well, you know, I have 4 tokens. But other than that, everything you're about to see, besides one card, is a one of. Link Karibo and Link Spider are my only link ones. They point down. I only have these in here for starting off the chain and also capping off the Tri-Gate Wizard. Proxy Dragon, Honeybot, and Ib the World Chalice Priestess are my left and right Link 2 monsters. Proxy Dragon because he's the easiest thing to get out. Honeybot because her effect honestly isn't that bad. Her attack's pretty good. And it's a Cyberse deck, so Ib the World Chalice Priestess, she's basically protection. Underclock Taker. Oh look, it's pointing at a thing, and then 1800 attack? Damn, and then something that you have loses 1800 attack? Okay, moving on. So we have a bit of Nightmare Engine going on, and specifically I'm running 2 of these little Nightmare Goblins, just so I have a chance between 2 Balancer Lords and 2 Nightmare Goblins, I can gain a total of 4 different normal summons in a duel at any given point in time, whether they get destroyed off the field or not. Of course, if they get negated, well, that obviously doesn't count, but Nightmare Cyberse and Nightmare Phoenix are pretty common staples at this point. Nightmare Phoenix hits the field. If you discard a card, pop a spell or trap. If it's co-linked when you do that, you draw. Nightmare Cyberse does the same thing, but instead of hitting a spell or trap, it hits a monster that was special summoned. So for my 3s, Transcode Talker, because granted, yeah, there's more than Cyberse in this deck. I mean, hell, he's a fiend even, and of course the frogs are, I mean, they're aqua type, but the frogs are frogs, so I mean, they're not Cyberse, but his effect, let's say he's dead. Oh no! His effect kicks in because you somehow didn't special summon anything other than Cyberse type monsters this turn. Bam. I mean, usually you'd want it over here so that you can link for him, but in camera, okay. So, Tri-Gate Wizard and Nightmare Unicorn, he's a staple. He's basically a staple. He's basically the reason I had the idea for this. Because I went and they were like, oh, there's a new Cyberse structure deck. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I got it. And at first, I honestly didn't like him. Because I was hoping for like a, 3 arrows down here kind of thing. And I look back now and I realize how absolutely asinine that is. I mean, hell, even the next 3 is all fucking janky and up, right, down. What the fuck? But, I actually read the card. That's amazing. When you read cards, you realize they're actually good. So, I read the card and I was trying to realize, what are practical applications for this? Because at the time, Cyberse monsters weren't really that good. They didn't have a whole lot of powerhouses in terms of non-link monsters. And then, I don't know, it just kind of hit me, I guess where you're not worried about the monsters in the main deck anymore. Which I guess you weren't really doing that with pendulums even. Well, anyways, I don't know, I was like, okay, if I want to Tri-Gate Wizard on the field, right, and I want to make as absolute much use of him as possible, then I need to maximize the number of monsters I can just throw up onto the field. So, Cyberse, because backup secretary can special summon herself once per turn. Stuff like the Trick Clown, when he dies, pay 1,000 life points, get him back. The one Cyberse Dot Scraper hits the field, goes away, comes back. Like the frogs, just, oh my god, the frogs, the Ronin Totem after Ronin Totem, it's beautiful. The fact of how many monsters you can get onto the field to make these is asininely easy. Is it unstoppable? No, absolutely not. Hand traps exist. And of course, there's also, just any traditional shutdown method. But I mean, that's anything you do. That's any strategy when you're like, oh, fucking, if my opponent didn't do this, I could have. This is how this. Okay, well, yeah, well, no shit. Whatever. Fucking, here we go. Here's a 4. Yeah, Firewall, Saryuja. They're amazing. Bomber Dragon, Boral Load, whatever. I can't afford them. I don't have them. I never pulled one from a pack. Did I pull this one or did I buy this? I can't remember. I think I bought this one actually. Topologic Bomber Dragon is a pretty okay 4. Usually, if I just need a beat stick to mow over almost anything or blow up a field, yeah, I'll pull a Topological Bomber Dragon and then, Ronin Toad or whatever, Ronin Toad somewhere here and then just pop the field. That's useful. Or if I got creature swapped when I was battling my buddy. I did not expect that. But yeah, totally awesome. Just because if you're running frogs, and yes, I understand that I'm running frogs as a different method than traditional, but even then, if you're running frogs and you don't have totally awesome, you're doing it wrong. You just scrap the deck. Just fucking put it all in here and burn it. Just start over. You're done because you fucked up. Okay. If you're running toads, if you're running frogs, you need totally awesome, even if it's just the 1. Especially in this deck, it's like, oh no, he dies. It's fucking okay. His effect kicks in. Done. Or even then, sign it Universe him back in, and then just 2 Ronin Totems. Who cares? Run. Totally awesome. If you what are you, a Blue Eyes player? Go put Totally Awesome in your deck. I don't care if you can't make it. It's fucking Totally Awesome is amazing. Oh god, he is in fact totally awesome. Oh fuck. So there you go. That's a deck. I mean, I basically went through the combos along the way, so I don't really know if I need to go through it again. It's primarily Link monsters, pretty much one of each, because again, I mean, as long as they don't get, even if they get banished, it doesn't matter. Sign out Universe, you put them back in the graveyard, from the graveyard to the extra deck, and even if they get banished, drop a Necroface. No one cares. So it's a very recyclable deck. It's just meant to just fucking spam. Floodgate the board with monsters. I don't know. I really like this deck. I really do. For the first time in a while, where, I didn't buy 3 structure decks and smush them together. I didn't copy this off the internet. This is more or less my own original creation, and more or less it actually works. And I'm proud of that. So, if you like the video, thanks. And if you like the deck, thank you. And hey, go try it on a Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro or something. Or build it yourself. Maybe not. But, I got nothing. Bye.